Welcome into Scoops with Danny Mac on Fox 2. I'm Dan McLaughlin. Tonight, the focus of the show is baseball, and specifically the Cardinals Hall of Fame. This has been one of the great recent additions to what the club has brought to the fans. Personally, I love it. I love the debate of which players get in. I love the fact that Cardinals history is being celebrated. It all started back in 2014. That was the first class of the Cardinals Hall of Fame. It included 22 men. They had been figures who had already been inducted into the National Baseball Hall of Fame, or those that had their number retired by the team. Since then, we've seen fan favorites voted in. Names like McGee, Edmonds, Langford, Izzy, or others that have made a huge impact on the franchise and the fan base over the years. In the end, this is about what the fans want. This isn't baseball's Hall of Fame. This is the Cardinals Hall of Fame. This is about what maybe made you a fan in the first place. And seeing that a player gets his recognition because you and others have decided to put him in. Coming up, I'll visit with former Cardinals pitcher Matt Morris, who once again is on the Cardinals Hall of Fame ballot. He had over 200 games started for the Cardinals, and his record was one of the best in franchise history at 101-62. However, Matty Moe isn't the only one being considered for the Cardinals Hall of Fame, and these candidates are all worthy. There's Keith Hernandez. Personally, I believe he should already be in. He was the National League co-MVP in 1979 when he won a batting title while hitting .344. His .385 on-base percentage is fifth all-time in club history. And in 10 seasons with the Cardinals, he won 6 straight Gold Gloves from 1978 through 1983. And he was a member of the 1982 World Champion Cardinals. Edgar Renteria was the Cardinals shortstop for 6 seasons and was an all-star for 3 of those years. He won 2 Gold Gloves, 3 Silver Sluggers. Along the way, he hit .330 in 2003, a franchise single-season record for a shortstop. And he also had 100 runs batted in. His 148 steals ranked second among shortstops in Cardinals history. How about Lee Smith? 160 saves as a Cardinal, and he had at least 43 saves in 3 of his 4 seasons wearing the birds on the bat. He was a 3-time All-Star in St. Louis and finished in the top 4 of the Cy Young ballot twice. He's already in baseball's Hall of Fame, but he told me recently on 101 ESPN, getting to the Cardinals Hall of Fame would be extremely meaningful.
Hey, I tell you what, man, that would be awesome. Tell you what, that would be unbelievable because I have a lot of ties still there, and I love it. I don't get a chance to get back to St. Louis enough, but to see my favorite buddies up there, Ozzie and Mr. Joe Torre and all those guys, man, that would be a great honor. But I tell you what, just for the city itself to be still remembered from 1993, that's unbelievable, especially in baseball with all the guys moving all over the place so much now.
You like pitching? There's lefty Steve Carlton. He was a 20-year-old when he came to the big leagues with St. Louis, a 3-time All-Star in his 7 years in St. Louis. He won 14 games for the 1967 championship team, and then 13 the following season. Carlton finished second in ERA in 1969 and was a 20-game winner in 1971. Fans can vote at cardinals.com/HOF, and let's bring in Brian Finch from the Cardinals Hall of Fame and Museum. Brian, what stands out about this class in terms of these 5 and only 1 this year will be selected?
Absolutely. We've got a great class from 2020 that we weren't able to celebrate. So this year, we thought it only made sense to induct 1 that would join our class from 2020 so that we could really give a great celebration to the 2020 and the 2021 inductees. So fans get to vote on 1 member of this ballot from 5 great Cardinals, of all time. Get online and vote. And that's your voice. Your voice, Cardinals fans, can be heard. Of course, our Hall of Fame members get their plaque at Cardinals Nation just outside the Cardinals Museum. And we absolutely anticipate having an induction ceremony this year on August 21st. We don't know at this point if it will be at Ballpark Village or maybe outside, but we absolutely anticipate having a celebration of some sort of Cardinals history to honor these new Hall of Famers.
What has been the response of the fans for this class?
I think fans at this point are really looking for an opportunity to be involved, just because last year we didn't have an opportunity to be at the ballpark. So the response has been outstanding. We've seen the voting numbers come in so far, and we've got a race going on. So we're excited to see that from the Cardinals' perspective, and I think it's going to be a great ballot all the way through the finish.
I mentioned this earlier. I love the debate. The Cardinals love this debate too. You guys enjoy this, don't you?
Absolutely. We didn't understand this until a few years ago, or we didn't really see it come to fruition, but with Ray Langford. And we've got so many great Cardinals to have on the ballot, and there's a backlog because we didn't start the Hall of Fame until 2014. But when we saw these fans have this uprising to get Langford on the ballot, and the debate and the discussion is really a positive. We do want that passion, and there are fans that are passionate about Keith Hernandez, and there are fans that are passionate about Matt Morris and every one of these other players on the ballot. As fans, what an opportunity to have a voice. It's your voice here. The Cardinals we stand back on this one. The fans get to have the voice and have a vote. So get online and vote, and make your mark on Cardinals history.
Ryan, thanks. Cardinals.com/HOF. You heard him mention Matty Moe. He's coming up next on Fox 2. Scoops with Danny Mac is brought to you by Schnucks, Lou Fuse, Royal Banks of Missouri, and Ryan Kelly, the home loan expert. Welcome back to Scoops with Danny Mac on Fox 2. A reminder, there's daily content on the website, scoopswithdannymac.com. Podcasts, features, articles. If you've missed Bernie Miklasz and his writing, you can see it all daily on scoopswithdannymac.com. So when you got the call that you're going to the Cardinals Hall of Fame, what was that like? What was going through your mind?
Well, first I didn't take the call. I kept... Mr. DeWitt was trying to call me from Cincinnati, and I didn't recognize the number, so I just kept, refusing the call. And then finally, Larry State got a hold of me and said, "Hey, stupid, answer the phone. Mr. DeWitt's trying to talk to you." So that was on a Sunday. It was exciting. I was actually at my parents' home when the call came, so it was neat to share it with them because, obviously, your parents are a huge part of your life, and they wanted to share in the excitement.
Great to catch up with Tommy Herr on an earlier episode of Scoops with Danny Mac. And congratulations on his induction into the Cardinals Hall of Fame. And hopefully, fingers crossed, there will be a celebration with fans in the ballpark to acknowledge his achievement this summer, along with John Tudor and Bill White. Now let's bring in Matt Morris, who is on the ballot for the Cardinals Hall of Fame. And it's great to catch up with Matty Moe. Matt, where do we find you these days? Where are you right now?
I'm in Big Sky, Montana. Just loving life out here. It's a great place to be, even before the pandemic, and times 10 of that.
What keeps you busy in Montana these days? That's a great place to be.
I mean, the recreation out here is unbelievable. When I retired, I wrote a big list of things I can do to kind of check off my list. But I realized if you don't have a passion for them, they're just not going to tug at your heart. So I'm definitely skiing a lot. It's wintertime. I mean, you got to embrace the winter out here. So yesterday was my 100th day skiing. I've been doing that pretty consistently over the years. So, and it's not all day skiing. It's dropping 4 kids off at school, coming back up, taking some runs, or even getting on my Nordic skis and skate skiing around. And, with the kids in programs at their ages, whether it's some are in Nordic, some are on the free ride team. I've got baseball actually just starting up. So I run a league here that we actually have to travel for an hour, but I have 4 different levels of teams here that I've almost wish I didn't start when I originally thought about it in T-ball with my own son, but now there's like 55 kids and it keeps me super busy.
In terms of when you think back to your Cardinals career, what comes to mind when playing for the St. Louis Cardinals?
You know, I was lucky enough to get drafted by the Cardinals. I came up with the Cardinals, so all I knew was the Cardinals until I signed with the Giants and went to Pittsburgh. Two great organizations, but nothing like St. Louis. You know, we all know that and we say that, but I was able to experience some other sides of things. And, you know, the fans are tremendous. They're knowledgeable. They're forgiving in an aspect. They're appreciative. And then the organization, the way they were running the organization and the type of players they got over the years, and by far, and I don't keep in contact with many, but, you know, Carpin and Izzy and Edmonds and those kind of guys will forever be my favorite, teammates. And it's just how they set it up, the owners. I mean, I got married at, you know, Mr. DeWitt's house, or not at his house, but I used his house. I mean, just things that we don't talk about and things that are not on the field have been really memorable for me.
You're on the ballot for the Cardinals Hall of Fame. What would it mean to Matt Morris to come full circle and go into the Cardinals Hall of Fame?
It was pretty cool. I mean, it's really great for my kids to see, because they haven't seen much of my career or any of it. So I don't talk about it much, but when I do or pull out a jersey, they just like, yeah, right, Dad. So that's kind of cool. But you know, the storied organization, the players and personnel that are in the Hall of Fame, to be in a company of greats like that would be phenomenal.
Do you have a favorite moment that stands out for you when you reflect back on your Cardinals career?
Oh, man, there's so many, you know, over these last, I guess, 10 years of just thinking about things popping in your mind that you didn't remember, you know, shortly after they happened, and you tend to let it soak in for a while. And then I always remember the Matheny arguments and fights. I mean, those are some of my favorite times. You know, I remember a lot of the dinners and hanging out with guys, a lot of off-field stuff, but of course, there's some games that stand out in the playoffs in Arizona against Schilling, and just things that I vividly remember. But mostly it's hanging with the teammates and you know, and having that common goal, whether we were battling with each other, we always were pulling in the same direction.
It's incredible when the guys get to come back and they walk into Busch Stadium. Now, you played at Busch Stadium too. What are the memories? What's it like for Matty Moe, who was a fan favorite, when you walk back into Busch Stadium, whether it was for the Tony jersey retirement or to come back to St. Louis? What are the memories that come back for you?
Just walking in the tunnels. You know, it's a little different for me because you know, 100% of my career with the Cardinals was at old Busch Stadium. Mm-hmm. So it changed within a year or two after I left. So it was a little different because I didn't know my way around. I mean, it's the same area, similar parking if they let me into the lot ever. But just being able to, you know, be in the halls and then step out and see the diamond never changes, is just breathtaking, you know, and to share that with family, whether it's my parents, my wife Heather, or kids, and have them walk through those halls, through the batting cage underneath, into the dugout, and then onto that field is just it's a feeling you don't forget.
How great was it for you to see Izzy and Jimmy Edmonds go into the Cardinals Hall of Fame?
It's awesome. I mean, you know, guys you played with, you know, the first step of retirement is there's still guys playing and, you know, that you used to play with. And then they all start retiring as well. And they start being coaches or in the system somehow, or they move on. And then it's the Hall of Fame thing. And just to be mentioned with those guys, to play with them was special, of course, but to be mentioned with them and be part of this elite group is pretty amazing.
And it's always special, as you mentioned earlier, for your kids to see these things, the uniforms and these kinds of things. Do you ever break out the YouTube videos and say, hey, by the way, Take a look at Dad. He was pretty darn good.
You know, over the pandemic, I think it was MLB, which didn't have a lot to do at that point, was showing some old films. And one, it's really grainy, right? Like the HD has come a long way. So when you watch, it looks even older than it is. But I think I recorded, you know, on the VCR, whatever it is, the DVR. A all-star game in Seattle, and then there was the Boston World Series thing, and I recorded some of that stuff, which was funny because I had never seen or wanted to see any of that World Series stuff. And when I did, I learned stuff about the game that I didn't realize, like, you know, all those hits I gave up. It wasn't the greatest memory for me, but we're all with 2 outs. And I just thought back, and this was, you know, 6 months ago that I realized that. And it was just kind of weird for me to hear. Of course, I preview them before I show them. But then when I do show them, they you know, seem as interested as watching like Judge Judy. You know, it's not a big deal. It's like, oh, yeah, there you are. And then they're off to go do something else. So it's kind of funny, but it was good to see.
Hey, Matty Moe, great to see you. Best of luck in the voting for the Cardinals Hall of Fame. I want to see you get there very, very soon.
Me too. Appreciate it, Dan.
That's Matty Moe. More of this Cardinals Hall of Fame special on Fox 2 is coming up. Scoops with Danny Mac is brought to you by Blue Tail Medical Group, Royal Banks of Missouri, Hair Saloon for Men, and Triad Bank. Back on the show on Fox 2, and let's welcome in from 590 The Fan and ScoopsWithDannyMac.com, the great Bernie Miklasz, to offer his perspective on what should be a very good class that fans had the chance to vote on at Cardinals.com. And I think, Bernie, you're on the right track with me, and I'm going to say it's the right track. I'm going with Keith Hernandez as my one vote this year that should be in the Cardinals Hall of Fame. Great to see you. What do you think?
Great to see you. Look, I feel very strongly about it. In fact, I wrote a column about this for ScoopsWithDannyMac.com. People can check it out. But Keith Hernandez, it's long overdue. And I don't know what the hangups are. You know, okay, get over it. He was a Met. I get it. But, you know, he got traded. What are you supposed to do? He got caught up in some of the other stuff that was going on in the 80s. He's repented for that. He's lived a good life. I think we're forgiving people too. So I just wanted to address that right off the top. But if you look at his Cardinals career in the modern era, in a Cardinals uniform, only 2 first basemen have a better wins above replacement than Keith Hernandez. The first is Albert Pujols. The second is Johnny Mize. And this guy has won, as a Cardinal, he won 11 major awards. I mean, he won a batting title, an MVP, 6 Gold Gloves. He's got a Silver Slugger, a couple of All-Star games. And, of course, he was a big part of the 1982 World Championship. This was a great Cardinals career, and it was a lengthy Cardinals career, nearly 10 seasons. So I don't see what's keeping him out other than people just not letting go of some of the things in the past or the fact that we'll always hate the Mets in our town.
I think that's it. I really do. I think it's about a little bit of the personal past, but also because he was part of the great rivalry of the hated Mets. So if he gets traded to the Pirates or goes out west or somewhere else, he's probably already in. I do think that's where this all stems from, the fact that he went to the hated Mets. I really do.
Right. And Dan, you know him better than I do. You know him very well. This guy's heart.
He loves the Cardinals.
He loves it. And this would mean the world to him. He loves this franchise. He loves the fans. He talks all the time about every time he comes back to St. Louis, how well he's treated. And he says that sometimes it makes him feel guilty, you know, because he felt like a long time ago he let him down, but people greet him with open arms. I mean, they love Keith Hernandez. So I hope that that's reflected in the voting this year because it's overdue.
Okay, let's take Hernandez out of it. If he was not a part of this group, the other 4 who else would you give a nod to?
All right, I hate this in a way because I'm not in any way saying Lee Smith's not deserving, right? Or I'm not saying Steve Carlton's not deserving. My next two after Hernandez are Matt Morris and Edgar Renteria. I mean, Matty Moe won 101 games as a Cardinal. That's tied for 14th in franchise history. I mean, that's not easy to do, to win 100 games. He's also 6th all-time Cardinals history in strikeouts. He had that incredible 2001 season. He led the league in wins, 3rd in the Cy Young voting. He was a really good number 1 starter for a long time. And then Edgar Renteria, my goodness, from 1999 through 2004, you're talking about a guy that was in multiple All-Star games. He won a couple of Gold Gloves, Silver Sluggers. And if you check the research, his season in 2003 was the greatest offensive season by a Cardinals shortstop going all the way back to the early 1900s.
And Bernie, as I wrap it up, and I think this is the great part about the Cardinals Hall of Fame is that these guys, and I'm with you, they should get in, but very soon, and it won't be that long, you're going to have Molina, you're going to have Wainwright, you're probably going to have a Matt Holliday, and maybe even a David Freese. And that's what makes this different than Major League Baseball's Hall of Fame. This is about the Cardinal fans, and that's something that needs to be separated as opposed to people say, well, how can you let a guy like Freese in? He didn't play that long. Well, he had maybe the most important game in the history of the franchise. So those are the things that separate the Cardinals Hall of Fame from Major League Baseball's Hall of Fame that makes this a really fun, unique, different part of the organization.
Yeah, and the last thing I want to do is kind of berate fans or bark at them and tell them how to vote. But I'm just expressing my opinion. In fact, who I did vote for, and I'm explaining the reasons why. So I just hope everybody gives a second look. If they haven't voted for Keith Hernandez, I really hope they give him a second look because it's time.
Absolutely. Bernie, love the writing on the site. It's been awesome, and thanks for all your hard work.
I love working for Scoops with Danny Mac. I don't know about you, but I love working for the site.
You're the best. You are the absolute best. For Bernie Miklasz, Matty Moe, and Brian Finch, I'm Dan McLaughlin. We'll see you next Sunday right here on Fox 2.